Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, March the 19th, 2019. Looking at ACB. The following video is just a short analysis, and it is in no way to be used as investing advice. It is solely my own opinion. With that said, we have here a 15-minute chart, an hourly chart, a daily chart, and a weekly chart, respectively. Take a look at the 15-minute chart. Let's draw trend lines. Interesting to see how we visited the top of the channel in here. And what did the price do? It had a regression. And then it visited the bottom of the channel like this. And then what did the price do? It had a continuation. And then again, it visited the top of the channel. And what did the price do? It regressed. So here we have the trend described: top of the channel, regression; bottom of the channel, continuation; top of the channel, regression; bottom of the channel. What does it look like? Like it's going to have a continuation, right? Another thing that is interesting to note is that as the price topped out in this area here today in the morning, this was met with a negative divergence here on the 15-minute chart. In here, I connected the two tops of the indicator, and those correspond to this top of the price right around this area, and this top of the price here in the morning. And so we have higher highs and a lower top over here. That is a negative divergence. This trend line in here on top is to indicate the top of this moment here on the indicator. And so you can see clearly that the next top is much more lower. And if we project that onto the price, it looks like this. This line here corresponds to this line here. And this line here corresponds to this line here. So when the price topped out here in the morning, it was being met with a negative divergence, a lower technical top. What did the price do as a response to that? It moves lower. That on top of the fact that we were on top of the channel, which already implies a regression. Then in here we have a very clear downside pressure pattern on the hourly. And when I say that, is I am comparing the length of the travel on the blue line of the indicator here versus the travel of the price. Take a look at how the price is much larger in its trek to the upside than the indicator was. And so I trace this line over here just to measure the travel of the indicator in this particular section. And let's do the same with the price. It's easy to see how the same moment in comparison to the price and the indicator travel is much shorter than the price travel on this particular move of the price to the upside. And so that in itself indicates down pressure. You have to imagine that this is actually trying to push the price down. That on top of the fact that we were on top of the channel. Moving on, what do we have going on the daily? The daily is parabolic to the upside. Take a look at the strength of that blue line, and we can clearly see the trend of the price with pullbacks and continuations along the way, which we can see here. We have a narrow band of pullbacks and continuations, and over here it broadens a little bit. Again, you have to understand that channel regressions are not perfect, but they are an indicator that allows you to forecast upcoming regressions and continuations of the price. I lost my train of thought because I had to pause the video and I had to answer that phone call, which happened to be telemarketing. Welcome to the new world. And so the trend to the upside is very, very strong here on the daily. And if we take a look at the weekly, also incredibly strong. And if we were to extrapolate this and we trace our channel, the channel regressions over here say that the price belongs higher than these two tops, possibly at 15 or 17. Now, is the price going to make it over there? It's possible, but not without some regressions and continuations. And that is a process that can take literally weeks, if not months. Another thing to note in here is the daily, even though it has a lot of upside into it and the blue line is parabolic, we have already an establishing downside pressure pattern. Because if you draw a line from here to here, and you draw a line on the price from here to here, you can see that the price is much longer. It's the same comparison I did on the hourly than the indicator is. So there's downside pressure building up, number one. Number two, are we not on top of this channel? Yes, we are. Very clearly indicated. I mean, it is actually pretty accurate in this particular example. Take a look at this trend line, which would be construed as the top of the channel, and how the top over here is perfectly painted. I'm sorry about the phone. Again, I cannot believe this. That was another telemarketing call. It's just unreal. I get like 14, 15 telemarketing calls per day. It's incredibly annoying. And so what happens when we visit the top of the channel? We have regressions. We had a regression here. We had a regression here. It stands to reason that a regression is soon to happen in here. However, the uptrend right now is incredibly strong, and in order to stop that, you need to have a pattern underneath. And every time I say underneath, see, we were talking about the daily chart. We were on the daily. So when I say underneath, I'm talking about a time frame right below the daily. In this case, in this particular setup we have here on screen, that would be the hourly. If I'm talking about something in the hourly chart, and I say something needs to happen underneath, and that means that I'm directly referring to a lesser time frame, and that would be the 15-minute chart, which we have a negative pattern in here, a negative divergence, along with a head and shoulders. This is a shoulder, this is a head, this is a shoulder, and if you connect these two indicator tops, and you connect them with the price tops, it says that the price belongs down here at 925. Now, is the price going to do that? Questionable. Probably not in this instance, and it didn't, because the uptrend that we see here on the daily and weekly is incredibly strong. But we still have these regressions, and it looks like we are in the middle of a continuation over here. Take a look at how the price came here, continued, came back down again, and it continued. And the 15 got a little long. In videos past, I said that when the indicator gets long in comparison to what the price is doing, that means that we're finding trend. And in this case, we are long compared to what the price is doing. What's the trend? Up. And so we have a continuation to the upside, which brings me to the 1, 5, 15, and 60. I want to pull up these charts because we're going to then see the 5-minute and the 1-minute chart respectively. So what we have in here is the 5 and 1-minute chart, and we had a bottoming. That's another telemarketing call. You see how I am being pummeled? I cannot even think straight. You were witness to this. In the span of 9 minutes, I received 3 telemarketing phone calls. That's an average of 1 every 3 minutes. It's our telephone system is actually broken now. It's unbelievable and very discouraging. And so what I see over here is lack of organization on the 5. I see a broken 15 that's pulling long against what the price is doing. And it looks like the price wants to continue. However, there's, like I said, lack of organization. I can make heads and tails of what I see here. I see the 60 pointing down right now, and the fact that we were on top of the channel. So it's possible that this pullback sustains longer. Maybe the price goes up a little bit longer or a little bit more, and then it comes right back down. Let's take a look at the 30, 60, 2-hour, and 4-hour charts respectively. The 2-hour has topped out technically. We have this pattern on the 30-minute chart, which is the same pattern we explored on the 15, but looking a little bit more organized. And so right now there is not much other than we start seeing weakening on the 15 and hourly charts, extreme upside painted on the daily and weekly charts. Let's quickly take a look at the daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly, just to see the larger context. Extreme direction or poised on the monthly. However, this monthly is already looking like a negative divergence. However, it is pointing up with great strength. The weekly is up and the daily is up, which tells me that we still have a lot of strength on this uptrend. However, since we are on top of the channel, a regression is definitely possible and it would not surprise me. But in order to turn this around, the daily to turn around and the weekly to turn around, we need to have a more organized negative structure on the time frames below the weekly and daily. And that would be the 4 hour, the 2 hour, and the hourly charts respectively. The hourly chart is definitely in the beginning stages of forming that pattern because it already technically topped in here and we dropped our technicals. And so what can happen is one or two different scenarios over here. The price goes up a little bit, possibly, and then it comes back down, or it drops from here. It continues to develop the 60-minute chart lower, and then we have a continuation, which I definitely think we are going to see here, and that at some point will build a more organized 60-minute negative divergence. I'm going back in time over here on the 60 to see if I find an example of a 60-minute negative divergence, and not on this chart, unfortunately. So I'm not going to bore you with more details, but that's what I see happening over here. Strong upside, possible regression, and then a continuation. Now, this regression could be sustained like this one here when the price topped out. And so how long did this regression last? This regression lasted for about 15 days or 3 trading weeks, considering each trading week is 5 days long. And then you have a pretty good continuation of the price. And that is very likely what we're going to see here, but not until we see some organization in the time frames below the daily. So let's keep an eye on it and let's see what happens. Catch you on the next video.